Now I, as educator, would like to invite the first speaker, probably students at this stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, in status quo, many children are involved in gangsterism and the numbers just keep on increasing. Now, we believe that this is primarily the parents' fault. Now, we would punish parents of children involved in gangsterism. Now, how do we define gangsterism? We define gangsterism as a group of individuals participating in an illegal activity that to an extent might harm a third party. Now, how will we punish these parents? We'll punish them by first charging a fine that is with par of the child's or individual's crimes. And we would also assign a parole officer, which is a child service agent, to keep tabs on the child after the parents has been punished to see if the parents have indeed taught their child to avoid these activities and taught them further what to do and how to just not be involved in these activities. No. We feel that children are mainly involved in gangsterism activities because of the lack of supervision from parents. Now, lack of supervision. By that, we mean that the parents not necessarily, we know that parents are involved in their daily lives and their daily activities such as their jobs and their hobbies and their friends, which are important to the parents too. But they also need to remember that their child is their responsibility and they need to keep tabs on their children. They need to know what their child is doing, what their child is up to. Okay, how is the child performing, you know? And we mainly believe that is why children are in gangsterism activities, because the parents don't keep tabs on them and they feel a sort of neglect. They feel that they can do anything. The parents are not caring about these people. The parents are just, oh, okay, I will let my child do anything they want. I trust my child. And the parents shouldn't really do that. The parents really, really need to understand that they need to mold this child and mold this child's personality and stuff. Now, I'm not saying take complete control of them, as in, okay, I will check your Facebook, I will check your social media websites, I will make sure that, you know, you're not doing these illegal activities with your friends. I'm talking about how these parents need to keep a tab on their children by just generally asking them, how are you? What have you been up to? What's going on? Need to attend parent-teacher activities. Be involved in their child's life in school. Yes.
How can you guarantee by doing this that you will actually solve the problem of gangsterism within children?
No. We do recognize that this will not completely solve this, but we do believe that this will decrease gangsterism activity. That this is not potentially this will not completely solve gangsterism. It won't just solve gangsterism just like that. There are certain steps there are other steps to solving gangsterism. I mean, a lot of people play other parts, but we're saying the parents are mainly involved in this, and it's mainly the parents' fault that these children are involved in these activities. Now, and as I was saying, the parents are keeping tabs on child by social media and stuff like that, but parents also need to remember that their child are growing and they can't really keep too much control on their child, but they are doing what they can through social media. Not through social media, sorry. Okay. Now, what happens if we don't punish these parents? Now, what will happen is these children will keep on participating in these gangsterism activities. Because in certain cases, in situations where neglect is the reason that children are in gangsterism activities, this means the parents don't really care what happens to the children. The parents might say, oh, okay, my child is involved in that, you know, it doesn't concern me, I shouldn't be involved in all of this. But when we punish the parents, they'll be like, okay, you know what, we're getting fines, I'm getting kept tabs on, I really need to start taking care of my child, I really, really need to learn, okay, this person is my child. I have been neglecting them for such a long time, and I have been completely disregarding their emotions, their feelings. So now, with this punishment, we feel that these children, these parents, will play a bigger role in their children's lives. Because parents in a whole, they are the head of the house, okay? They're the ones who completely protect the child. They're not responsible for these children, okay? And in this living environment, these parents need to understand that it is their responsibility, and they kind of have after they have received these punishments. So by punishing the parents, like I said, I'm not saying that we will completely solve gangsterism, but we will, to an extent, decrease the issue, and we will also raise parents. We'll also tell the society that please sit down. We'll also tell the society that okay, this is how you should respond to these certain things. Like you look, parents are getting punished. Take charge, take activity, keep tabs on your children. This is a fair warning to all other parents. So future gangsterism activities could be prevented. Okay. No. Future gangsters, that I mean by saying that future gangsterism activities might be prevented. Well, this is not completely 100% foolproof thing. It could not happen. Some other people might just be like, yeah, I do take care of my children. This won't happen to my child. I believe in my child. But no, we don't believe that is the case. We feel that, yes, they will understand. They will be like, okay, this other person is getting punished. I should start giving a shit about my child. I should start caring about them, and I should start doing this. So in a way, I feel that we feel that it will decrease the situation. Now, therefore, before I take say, I would like to reaffirm my stance, and I do believe that parents should be held responsible for their child's activities, and they should be punished if their child is involved in gangsterism.
Thank you to the Prime Minister. Now I would like to invite the Malaysian Indian to the US There you go.
Not only did Side government come up and not only Side government does not understand what the debate is about, they did not even tell us what they ultimately want to do. Now, a few responses towards their only point, which was that parents don't care about their child. Now, they did not even analyze about how parents are the ultimate people to influence their child, and they're also assuming that all parents are lazy and do not even care about their child. All parents don't even want their child. But even if they did, why are we now punishing the parents for a crime they did not even commit? And also, how will the child stop being in a gang just because the parents are taking tabs on them? Just because my parents know that I'm in a gang doesn't mean I will stop. Doesn't mean the parents will do anything about it. Now, moving on to my substatives, which is that number one, how parents would do their best, and number two, how you are now forcing parents to parole their child. Now, on how parents would do their best, parents naturally try to do their best in a child's upbringing. Now, when a child is young, the first individuals who teaches morals to these children are the parents. Now, because the parents naturally want the child to grow up to be useful in society, because no parents want their child to fail, which further rebuts their case on how parents do not care at all. Now, therefore, we see that the factor which influences the child the most is society. Because when a child is exposed to society which deems that it is cool to be in a gang, the child would naturally take into consideration a parent's teachings, but they will definitely want to do what their friends feel is cool and what society deems is the best to do. Now, moving on even if the parents don't do the best in the child's upbringing, we see that when a child reaches a certain age, the child will naturally want to rebel the parents. So we see that at a certain age, the child will try to rebel the parents. So even if the parents do their best in the child's upbringing, even if the parents do their best to tell the child what to do and what not to do, we see that once they reach this age, society is the ultimate one which influences them to do what they are doing now. So because now parents can't influence their child 100%. Parents can't ultimately tell their child what to do. Because parents are giving a freedom to send their child to school, to send their child into society. So how are you now going to punish the society? So are you now punishing society for influencing the child into going into gangsterism? Are you now punishing the schools for not educating the child properly? Are you now going to punish everyone which had a role to play in influencing the child? Now moving on to how number two, you are forcing the parents to parole their child. Now, before I move on, any POIs from side of government? No. Now, moving on. So, parents know that there is a danger of their child being influenced in society, that there is a danger of their child going into gangsterism because they are exposing their child to society, which is traditionally what parents want to do. But because they know that there is this danger, parents know this, parents now have an incentive to limit the freedom of the child and put the child within the bubble so that they do not get into trouble, because the parents know that no matter what I do, the ultimate one which influences them is society, and because society is not being blamed, I'm not being blamed. I'm now going to have to control my child and limit how much my child is being exposed to society. Now, moving on. Because no matter what, parents are all lazy. Because no matter what, due to government's characterization, all parents are now lazy. All parents do not care about their child, and all parents don't teach their child no matter what. So as opposed to having parents locking up the child within a room, locking up and limiting the child's exposure to society due to the fact that we are not punishing parents with a crime they did not even commit. As opposed to having a world like that, why not have a world where the child has a chance to be exposed to society, but at the same time, the parents at least have a chance to educate the child as much as they can, as long as they're not being criminalized for crime which is now being committed by the child. But because all parents are lazy, they are now being convicted. Now, and if you are going to punish all parents for doing so, are you now going to punish society? Are you now going to punish schools for not educating a child properly? Are you now going to say that because everyone has played a part into influencing the child into going to a gang, are you not blaming everyone for not educating the child properly? And even so, how are you going to? And because of that, you're not going to put the extra burden on yourself into proving why because the parents spend more time with their child, the parents do their best, that schools play no part into influencing their child. Side government's whole argument is basically based on the assumption that all parents are not going to do their best, all parents are not going to try to at least influence their child. And even if the child is being influenced by society, by the schools to go into a gang, they are assuming that parents are now the ultimate culprit in this play. So, because we want to show to the child that the child at one point has to own up for the mistakes they made. We need to tell the child that they need to take responsibility for what they do, instead of putting parents as a shield in front of them and letting them know that when I do something wrong, I'm not going to be punished. My parents are going to be punished, because no matter what, I don't listen to my parents are the ones who apparently influenced me into going to a gang. So what has side opposition brought to you today? Side opposition has brought to you, number one, on how parents would naturally want to do their best, and number two, on how you are now forcing parents to put their child in a bubble. Now, side government is assuming that all parents are lazy. Side government is now trying to give the child the incentive to do mistakes, because they are giving the child the mindset that I do not have to take responsibility of what I have done, and I can just put my parents in front of me simply because they are the ultimate culprit to what I have done, to whatever I do wrong. So if you want to side which obviously thought this through, and if you want to side which takes into consideration what if the parents do best, please go with side opposition.
Thank you, this side opposition leader. Now I would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to begin this meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Deputy Prime Minister, I would first like to clarify a few things that my Prime Minister has said that I think that the opposition has taken wrongly. Firstly, the Prime Minister did not claim that our mechanism would solve all gangsterism, but we believe that it would decrease gangsterism because we believe that gangsterism is caused largely by parents who neglect their children, because we believe that most children who are involved in gangsterism are victims of neglect. So the reason why we want to implement our mechanism is because by implementing our mechanism, we want the parents to feel more involved with their children, because the main cause of neglect is because the parents don't feel the effect of the children's actions. Therefore, by implementing this mechanism, the parents will feel the effect of the children and they will feel like obliged, and they will have to be involved with their children if they don't want to experience loss. You cannot force the parent to feel love and care for their children if they don't, because in cases of neglect, they don't. In purposeful neglect. So therefore, the only way to get the parents to be involved with their children's lives is by implementing this system where we punish the parents. Next, I would like to rebut some of the Leader of Opposition's points. Firstly, we claim that all parents don't care about their children, which I rebutted in my previous statements, and that we want to punish society and all the influences for causing the child to be involved in gangsterism. No, we want to punish the major factors of child gangsterism, and we believe that is the parents, because the parents play a major role in the children's lives. And as you said, society does influence children a lot, but the parents are the ones who decide what society that the children are involved in. No, thank you. But because of the rule of locus parenti, the law that we have in our government, this means that whichever parent provides for their children, they have the right to pull children out of schools, for example. No, thank you. And we feel that schools are the primary factors of children's behaviors, right? So if that is so, then the parents who have the authority to change the children's schools and can therefore change the environment should be punished if they don't make the right decisions for their children.
What are the measures do you think these parents will then take to solve gangsterism as a whole?
That will be in my arguments later. And another point that the Leader of Opposition has said is that they want to allow parents to educate children as much as they can. Exactly. But right now, gangsterism isn't going down, is it? We're not taking any measures, so gangsterism isn't going down. And we say that by implementing this mechanism, this law will make the parents who neglect their children care about their parents and educate their children. So our mechanism will achieve that instead of. You didn't even have a mechanism, actually. No, thank you. And we didn't say that the child wouldn't be punished, and we did not say that the parents would be used as a shield from the child. We merely said that the parents would also be punished for the children's activities in gangsterism. We didn't say that the children wouldn't feel the effect at all either, because the parents, this is just a subsection of what will happen if children are involved in gangsterism. So we just believe that when children are involved in gangsterism, their parents will also feel it. They will also have to be punished, not only the children.
So is punishing the parents going to make the parent love the child even more now?
No, as I said, the parents cannot be forced to love their child, but this will force the parents to educate their child because they have to be involved in their child's life so that the children don't make the decisions that will affect the parents. So another point they said is that our mechanism would force the parents to put their child in a bubble. By this, how does our mechanism, we merely said that by punishing the parents, they would educate their children. It wouldn't be putting their children in a bubble. It would be exposing their children to the dangers of gangsterism. How? Which is because by educating their children, they will tell their children from a young age and bring their children up to become individuals who will not do these things because they know the impact that it has on themselves, because they believe that children involved in gangsterism don't fully understand the consequences of being in gangsterism. So moving on to my arguments, the first one is that parents are responsible for disciplining their children, and therefore they should be held accountable for the lack of discipline of children who become involved in gangsterism. So, other than controlling the environment the child is exposed to, which is the schools, when children's behavior starts getting out of hand, it is the parent's responsibility and obligation to discipline the child. So, children becoming involved in gangsterism doesn't just happen overnight. It is not just something that happens just like that. It's something that is gradual, and it involves change in behavior of children. So, it's the parents' responsibility to pay attention and be involved in the children's lives so that they can recognize these signs and begin to implement disciplinary measures so that their children do not become involved in gangsterism. So, among the measures that the parents can take include sending kids to correctional camps and facilities that would help the behavior of the children. Other than that, they could also educate the children on the harms of becoming involved in gangsterism. And also they can have punishments at home for bad behavior, for example, taking away their privileges, and explaining to the children why they have to do this so that the children will not harbor any hate for their parents and will understand that the parents do it and in their best interest. So all these procedures should prevent the child from becoming involved with gangsterism. So with that, thank you.
Okay, thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister. Now I would like to invite the Deputy President to continue to speak.
Mr. Speaker, we think that all the measures that the side proposition has proposed to us today already coexist in status quo. We don't think that educating and all these kind of things are mutually exclusive to their side. As we think on our side, you really have parents educating their child not to become a gangster when they grow up. We really have correction camps. We have all those measures. We think that all these kind of measures are really failing as what they've said as the status quo that they've characterized. So therefore, we think that it's a contradiction. As they pointed out, the status quo which coexists with all those measures really don't work. So by then we can see that there's a flaw in the proposal as a whole in the first place. What am I going to tell you today? I'm going to tell you two things. I'll answer the questions that should have been the debate of today's debate. And second one, I'll take down the case of side government. Side government came out to us with three false characterizations. First characterization, they assume that the parents will be educated, will actually want to educate their child. And Deputy Prime Minister contradicted their case by saying things like, oh, we can't force a parent to love the child. Exactly, you can't force a parent to have love and affection for the child. Exactly in that instance. So what is it then gonna allow it by punishing these parents, gonna force them to love these individuals and actually want to attempt to solve these individuals? But even if that still exists, we still don't think that these parents will take up measures such as educating. They will go to measures, extreme measures, such as locking their child up in jail or jailing their child in order to them to stop all these kind of things. And we think that this leads cleaner to my substantive material, but I'll talk about that later. But before that, got a few more responses. Second response, they came up with their idea on how parents are the major factor in today's debate. We think that the parents are the major factor, as we think that in schools we have friends influencing the child into committing, into becoming a gangster. This side is assuming that parents are the ones telling their child to become a gangster. This side doesn't understand what gangsterism is about in today's debate. But even if we were to buy the characterization that these parents were the ones who neglected their child, we don't think they were doing this is going to do anything much else. Because we think that parents already show love and affection towards their child. So by them doing this, we don't see on how parents can put in any additional more love in this instance, because you're just going to punish the parents anyway in this instance. So what are you going to do? So are you then going to force the parents to go to extreme such as locking their child out because they don't see another harm, because they don't see another thing that can solve this in the end of today's debate? I'm going to bring up one substantive material. First of all, on the whole idea of how you can provoke these individuals to become even more gangsters in the future, and these parents don't even know that their child is even a gangster in the first place. Because we think that the first level analysis is that we think why? Because these individuals, these parents know that they need to resort to this illegal means, because as they categorize status quo has education, it's failing. They need to resort to jailing means, such as things like jailing their child in the home to prevent them from exposing to the other world. We think that that's an extremely huge assumption that side is going to solve today's debate, because we think that there was no analysis whatsoever that came out from this side to prove on what will happen even if they implement these laws. What are these parents going to do? But even if they do, I'm assuming that they're going to go with our characterization, which is they'll jail the child out. And what will happen is that the crime is still going to continue. They're still going to be gangsters, because they only resent their parents even more for locking them up in jail. They only resent their parents for locking them up in jail. In the end of the day, this isn't solving anything but merely making these individuals resent their parents even more. This side doesn't solve anything but only exaggerates the harm. What's the clear harm then? You can now have parents thinking that because I jailed out my child, therefore my child is not a gangster. This is a false assumption, because we think that individuals don't have the capability to do anything to go exposed to the underworld. This is something that these individuals still are going to become gangsters when they still get influenced by society, because in the end of the day, these individuals still are going to go out to society. They still are going to be influenced. All these things still happen. This side can't stop that. But what even worse is that these parents don't even know that their child is a gangster. This forces them to not take any measures whatsoever to further stop the crime. They won't even educate their child, because they think that by locking their child out is really solving the problem. These are the harms they point out to their case, which was never rebutted. This side needs to answer that, or not they've been losing the debate from the get-go. What's the extensive benefit? Why is side opposition stance in today's debate? We think that no matter what, gangsterism is still going to occur. We think that there's really a natural check and balance in status quo in society today's debate. Before that, yes.
Are you saying that all parents would resort to extremism, like locking their child in jails?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. Because in you already clarify that education and all these kind of measures already exist because you want to go for education. Education already exists as status quo. You have parents educating their child to not be a gangster. However, this isn't succeeding, because when they go in, when they're exposed to the social things, then they are still going to be adapted. They're still going to follow all these influences. This doesn't solve anything. But let's just bite the bullet. Even if you locking these children up is going to solve the problem of gangsterism, we still think that there's one principal harm. Is that you then don't punish the correct individual in these certain instances. Because you only punish the parents who are actually the individuals who need to do all true stuff. They need to raise up their child, and when the child commits a harm, you blame it on the parents. This is extremely harmful, because now you then blame the child's crime on the parent, which isn't even the parents to be blamed in the first place. Let me just move on to what was I talking about before that. I've talked to you about the whole idea on how you actually create the harmful effects and how gangsterism still occurs. But even if we were to bite the bullet, the gangsterism still occurs. But even if gangsterism doesn't occur by locking up their child, we see that that's extremely harmful because we not allow these parents to limit their freedom, go through illegal means, going to things like putting up their child in jail, all these kind of things which are inhumane just to solve the problem. These are all crimes, these are all things that shouldn't be justified injustice. This side is allowing those things, this side doesn't get today's debate. What have I told you in today's debate? I've told you 3 things. I've taken down their case and the whole assumption that today's proposal will solve today's debate. And second of all, I've talked to you about the harm, which will exacerbate the harm then when you actually allow these individuals to lock their child up in order to prevent them from being extremism. And even if gangsterism doesn't occur on the side, why is it still harmful to punish the parents? And because of all those reasons, we think a side opposition is the only one that attempts to help the children in today's debate.
This side immediate now I would like to invite the government to and
Mr. Speaker, for today I will be bringing up the issue and the clash points that were brought up throughout this whole debate. So firstly, I'm going to mention about the importance of punishing the parents, how we want to punish these parents, and the harms if we don't punish these parents. But before that, this debate is not about whether the behavior of the children, whether the parents should be. This debate is not about the behavior or the nature of the children, but instead whether to punish or to not punish these parents for the outcome of their children. But before that, I'll be rebutting everything coming from side opposition. So, if you are my first speaker, how do we ensure that everything presented today would actually solve the problem of gangsterism? We have clearly stated that under no matter circumstances, gangsterism will not entirely be solved, but instead, under our paradigm, it can surely decrease. After that, they also mentioned how parents would actually resort to extremism if they go with side government's mechanism. We say that no, parents won't necessarily resort to extremism, especially when they are informed that they will have charges pressed against them when they do so. So, they also mentioned how it's extremely harmful to lock up these children. Yes, we can see to the fact that it is extremely harmful to lock up these children. But as I said, if you go on with side government's mechanism where these parents will be punished for their wrongdoings, we believe that these parents won't make such desperate measures to lock the children up in terms to punish them to curb this problem. Plus, side opposition also mentioned how education already good. Education and all these child agencies or whatever childcare already coexist in status quo. Yes, it does coexist in status quo. And what we are implementing now is to charge these parents for that. So I don't think that any of the speakers from side opposition were really listening to any of my previous speakers where we propose to actually charge them for all of this. Sorry that. So how are parents? How would it actually affect gangsterism as a whole if only the parents are gonna be punished for this? In status quo, gangsters if caught, they are already facing charges for that. So we believe that if both parties, both parents and the children will be facing charges, there will be a deterioration in this case. So these children, yes, we acknowledge the fact that they are already exposed to society and that they will be influenced by society and other external parties such as media and so on. But in status quo, education itself is not effective, just as how opposition said. That is why we are trying to add up to this. We are trying to curb this problem by putting in education, child care services, and punishment.
So bad.
And punishment towards sit down. So, how will these children stop if if these parents only wanna watch them or keep tabs on them? Well, as my first speaker mentioned, we're not gonna completely violate the children's privacy by constantly, keeping track of their everyday doing and so on. But moving on to how it is important to punish these parents. When these parents are being punished, they will definitely regret their lack of involvement and decide to change and to improve by being more concerned and alert of the well-being of the children. So it's also important to punish these parents because these parents were given the authority to decide for the children. They're given the authority to decide what the children can do, what the children can't do. So therefore, if we don't punish these parents, we are actually letting these parents breach an agreement given by the state to parents where they are allowed to decide anything that the child does and the child doesn't. Yeah.
So are you now going to punish schools as well for not educating the children properly?
No, we're not. We're not punishing the schools. But if you see, think about it. If you implement this law where parents are being punished, don't you think that the society is also made up of parents, made up of teachers who are parents, children that have parents? Therefore, when these parents are being punished, the people in society will also tend to Gangsterism in society would tend to decrease because society is also made out of parents and these children. So, as I said, you're actually breaching an agreement that is already made by the state and the parents. Where if you as a parent you bring in a life into the world, then you are already it's like an informed consent that you are given the responsibility to fulfill responsibilities and take full care of your child. So we believe that if we don't punish them for breaching this agreement, they are abusing the advantage of their rights, and this itself is actually an offense and a crime that the government is letting the parents to get away with. So therefore, if we don't implement this system where the parents are being harmed, where the parents are being punished, like what was proposed and the side government, there will only be an increase in crime rate because when you don't even try to deter it in the first place, it will only keep on going on. It will only increase day by day, generation by generation, because these children are the ones who are going to live in the further generations and who only create a bad environment. There will be no social progression because, as I said, these children, these parents are part of society. It will only affect the government spending to rehabilitate the nature of these children and also the surrounding. Therefore, I believe that parents should definitely be punished for this. Thank you.
Thank you to the side government wing. Now I would like to invite the side legislative to end their case.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, the major flaw coming from side government is when they came up with the whole idea of saying that the main contribution to the problem of gangsterism today is because parents are not giving enough attention, or parents are not giving enough love for their child, right? So they came up with a solution to actually punish the parents and eventually force the parents to actually care about their child and ask the child about their day, and eventually they came up with the assumption that the children would eventually opt out of gangsterism, right? But let me tell you that is a huge assumption coming from their side. They came up and say that the way to solve the problem in the first place is to actually give these parents punishments, and so therefore give them an incentive to actually care about their child. But then they contribute their case again by saying they're not trying to solve the problem because they believe that it is not their burden, but they still believe that by punishing the parents they're going to solve the problem which they don't want to concede exists, right? So what has side government so what has side opposition talked to you, right? We've already clarified that there is a problem in today's debate, right? We believe that firstly, side government is punishing the wrong party. Side government shouldn't how they're going to further exacerbate the problem, and how they're not going to solve the problem. How they're not going to solve the problem. And secondly, by actually punishing the parents, how you're actually going to promote parents to actually limit the freedom of their child. So first, the first clash that I got in today's debate is about the lack of supervision versus the parents and what they intend to do. Right? Before I move on to my clashes, let me talk about a few rebuttals. Firstly, they talked about how their case can actually decrease the problem, but not solve the problem. But they don't aim to solve the problem. But they still, throughout all three speakers, we still haven't heard about how their case is actually going to decrease the problem, right? How their case, how proving that forcing parents to care about their child is going to decrease the problem. They just gave that one. They just came up with that one-liner and ended their argument like that. So easily I can say that the side government already wins, but in the spirit of the side opposition already wins. But in the spirit of the debate, we're still going to try to extract whatever that the side government has tried to bring into this debate. Now, secondly, they also talked about how education is not effective, but yet a speaker from side government has told us that they expect parents to now send their child to concentration camps or send their child to correctional facilitation in order to improve the whole situation of the child. But we tell you that these are the check and balances that already exist in status quo. So by actually punishing the parents, you're not going to solve the problem, because you're not going to solve the problem. Because you're now forcing parents to put their child through correctional facilities, which they deem is not effective. But they now want to force parents to do the exact same thing. So what exactly are they trying to propose? Are they trying to say that they want parents to do their dirty work by forcing their child to go into these correctional facilities, at the same time, they're also telling us that education that exists in status quo nowadays is not effective, which is why they want to punish the parents. So they haven't gotten their case. They haven't gotten their case straight from the get-go, right? So moving on into the clash points in today's debate. On the whole idea of lack of supervision, we tell you they came up and talked to us that is the main problem in society. That is what contributes to the whole problem of gangsterism, right? But let me tell you that is not what contributes to the problem ultimately. There are many contributing parties to this. Society also plays a role in this, because children are easily influenced by their schoolmates. Children are easily influenced by society. So now what are they trying to do? Are they trying to say that now they want to punish schools for not educating them properly? Are they now going to punish the state itself for not actually giving more security in public places, right? So we tell you that punishing parents is not going to solve the problem, because it is the same thing as punishing schools for not educating children properly, or actually punishing the state for not increasing security everywhere. So the whole idea of punishing parents in the first place is already a wrong approach, and it's already a approach that is not going to solve the problem. Now moving on to the conclusion to that is, we believe that it answers the question in today's debate, right? It is not effective, and it is not correct to actually punish the parents. Now, secondly, the second clash that I got in today's debate, right, but before I move on, any POIs? No. Okay, so they already agree. So secondly, the second clash, right? Let's talk about how whether parents are actually parents are the ones to blame for the situation. Side opposition has already argued to you and already told you and already clarified that parents do play an important role in a child's life, right? But when you provoke the parents to actually go through means, because when you actually provoke parents by punishing them, and they figure out that talking to their child or asking the child about their day isn't going to improve the situation, they might resort to means such as limiting the freedom of the child, as they already talked about, limiting the freedom of the child. This is not going to solve the problem, because now you're not only causing the child to possibly retaliate in the future, but also provoking the child of not listening to their parents, or provoking the parents itself to limit the rights of their children and not allowing their children to live their life as a normal human, which is what my first speaker is talking about. You're putting the child in a bubble and not exposing the child to what they're supposed to be exposed to. So now, what has side opposition brought you in today's debate? We've already talked to you about how it is not the right way to go about this situation by punishing parents. And secondly, why punishing parents isn't going to be effective. And thirdly, we've talked about how by actually punishing parents, you're actually exacerbating the situation and not solving the problem as a whole. So with that, I think side opposition already takes the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shafiq. Now, 4 minutes are dedicated to both benches to prepare for their written speech. The time. Now, I would like to invite the press speaker from the side opposition bench to start their speech. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, let me just compare both scenarios, both characterizations in the end of today's debate. You have a side that comes and says things that, parents will be incentivized to go through more means such as more education, more correctional camp visits in order to solve the problem. But let me just explain on how this falls, and this rebuttal came out in Sam's speech. First of all, she talked to you about both scenarios as a whole. You have a parent who loves the child. The parent loves the child and educates the child from young, and gangsterism yet still occurs because you have society that still criminalizes, that still influences an individual. But because we think that these parents neglect their child, it's because they think that they've reached the age of consent, that they think that they can cope with it. But we think that exactly because we think that by you still punishing these parents for punishing their parents for still educating the child isn't going to do anything in the end of the day. Because these individuals who really educate their child and think that they are suitable, so that's why they go out to work for a better life for their family. But now you then, on side government, you punish these parents for even though already attempting, but it's still happening. But you see that you cause another harm. And this harm came out from St. John's speech, which is you unfairly punish the parent instead of you unfairly punish the parent also for the crime, which isn't even the parent's concern. The parent did attempt to solve the problem, but we don't think that is really exists. We don't think that can help. But what was the second scenario that Sam brought up? You have a parent that doesn't love the child, and amazingly somehow on their side, the parent will want to go and and actually want to help the child. First of all, we think that these parents who already don't love the child, who already didn't want to educate the child in the first place, would then go to resort to even easier means, such as just locking their child, just to easy means, just to solve the problem and just get it done with in that instance. These are the means that these parents are going to take. These are the means that this side is going to propose in the end of today's debate. These individuals will still be gangsters, and this was analysis that came out from St. John's speech. St. John came out and told you on the whole idea, on in the long term how even if you lock these children out, and even if these children still are gangsters temporarily, when they grow up, they still are gangsters, they still are exposed to the real world, but then you still have to punish these parents. When is this side going to punish parents until we don't see an end to this? It's only a cycle that will keep on repeating itself until finally nothing is going to resolve in the end of today's debate, but only more harms, more things the government has to take to solve the problem as a whole. What was the beneficial and actually extremely essential points that came up from side opposition? Side opposition brought up to you two simple harms that could take down side government's case, which is you provoke parents to resort to even evil means to lock their child up just to make sure that they won't become a gangster, because that's the characterization on their side, and because of that, you only cause a false sense of security, which these individuals still go on and be gangsters, but these parents still get locked up in the end of today's debate. We think that today's debate was correct. Side government whip did point out that today's debate was about the justification on should we punish the parents. And we think that on our side, we have clearly proven why we shouldn't punish these parents. And we've also distinguished the second burden, which is why is it specifically we can't harm these individuals, why we can't punish these parents, because we think that there's still a long-term harm to this, but you still punish the parents for this long-term harm. In the future, you don't do anything but only exacerbate the harm. You still punish parents. In the end of the day, you don't do anything else but just simply punish the parents because it's fun for it. This was side government's case in today's debate. And because of all these reasons, we think that side opposition has told you a few things in today's debate. We've told you, we distinguish the burden. Why is it unjustified to punish these parents? Second of all, we've taken down their point, and they've never proven to us on how is it by me as a state, by me punishing my citizens is going to solve the problem. This side in the end of the day's debate didn't solve the problem. This side is grateful that we don't punish these parents for these crimes.
Thank you, dear reply speaker, for your second position. Now I would like to invite the reply speaker for the second government to get
So, in today's debate, side government, what we talked about is, first, how we're going to punish these parents. We mentioned that we will charge a fine to these parents on par with what the child has committed. But we also did mention, once the parents are fined, a child services agent will be assigned to keep tabs on these children and to keep tab on the parents and to see that if these parents are doing well. Now, what side opposition said is that parents will go to extreme measures such as lock up their children. We don't think that will happen because, as we said, a child service agent will be there, will be monitoring these parents, will be monitoring the children as well. So we think that that is not very relevant to the situation. No. We also told you that one of the reasons of gangsterism is a lack of responsibility from parents. Now, yes, not all parents are irresponsible, and we're not saying that all parents don't love their children, all parents aren't keeping tabs of children. But we're saying in certain cases, that is the issue. In certain cases, children who do resort to gangsterism, most of the time, it's because their parents don't really care about them, just don't really keep tabs on them and don't check up with them. Some parents might not keep tabs on them, as I said before, because of their jobs or their daily activities and their hobbies, and they do get caught up in the moment. But they do need to remember their responsibility, and we believe that our stance by implementing these fines and all will solve that. Now, side opposition did also say that parents, mainly some of the parents don't know that the child's gangsters, and these child's might get off easily, like they won't get any repercussions or anything. Yes, we did argue that also these children will be punished as well. Gangsterism doesn't get off like that. They do get charges. There are juvenile prisons for a reason. Many of them for gangsterism crimes. So we are saying that that's not really very relevant to what we were saying. They kind of rebutted something that we proved. No. We also mentioned in this debate that the parents should discipline their children, and now we don't mean by discipline as in resorting to extreme measures. We did say disciplining their children as in things like restricting them from certain usages of social media, maybe, or restricting their restricting their personal activities and what they basically want to do, like using computers or going out with your friends. They will restrict that. They will keep tabs on you, and they make sure that you're not going to go off with your friends and continue on this path of gangsterism. They're not going to go and continue on and do all these things that we've already been punished for. So without punishing the parents, you do see that, yes, we've been punished, and now we don't want that to happen again. We realize now that our child really needs to, that our child has been into these activities, and we don't approve with this activity. So we're going to try now to watch over our child, and we're going to try now to help them better their lives. I thank you, and I feel that side government has proved the better point.
Indeed, this side, the press speakers of this side, the woman now both benches cross hands, and then the woman where